Hey, how's it going? This is Joe. You may have seen me from my other channel, Joe and Tell, where I review audio products, and I'm just trying to bring some more of that objective look. With audio, we're always looking to push for objective measurements so we can easily compare, and I want to do the same thing for mechanical keyboards. So right here, I have my Mod007, which they've sent to me. Thank you, Mod. You guys are awesome. This is the first edition, so the 2020 model, and to me, this is the best sounding keyboard that I've ever heard, and so that's why I've asked them for it. So you can take a listen here. So I'm using some U4Ts in here, very popular switch, and for keycaps I'm actually using some Keychron PBT keycaps. I know these aren't the best, but I like the way that they sound on this particular keyboard. And so this is a very heavy keyboard made out of aluminum, and I wanted to know if I could get close to this sound without the price of this Mod007, which is $650, and I still needed to get keycaps, and I actually bought switches. It came with some switches, but anyway, very expensive. So what I have here is the Akko Mod007v2. I'm also going to get a V2S for south facing in pretty soon. I thought this would be a good platform just because it is also aluminum, and when I saw the internals, it looked like something that would be conducive to what I'm looking to do, which is kind of a same setup as this Mod. So later on I will have a before and after demo. I also want to show you guys some of the measurements that I took earlier. This is the measurement of the Mod007 here in red. That's the frequency response. If you don't know how to read this, the bass and lower frequencies are here on the left, higher frequencies on the right, and the mid-range is in the middle. And this over here just tells you how loud that is relative to the other frequencies. So here the Mod007, you see that the peak is here at around 2 kilohertz. I have a YouTube short where I compared these different ones so you can hear them there. Here is the Mod007 with just the PCB sitting on the pour-on foam on top of the case. So this is using the Boba U4T and the same switch on all of these setups. So you can see here that it's similar in tonality. You know, it may have some higher frequencies here, but there's another peak here. That may be the upstroke or the downstroke. I'm not sure exactly which, but you can see here, this is a little bit cleaner on the Mod, so I'm not sure what that is. But the rest, the mid-range and the bass frequencies, are similar. Now, when I compared that to the Mod007 on the PC plate, so this is with the PC plate, the foam, all the foams basically, and set up exactly how you'd normally set it up with the rubber gaskets. All right? And so the thing I noticed is that it no longer has very much of this mid to upper mid frequencies. That all dropped down significantly, as did many of the other frequencies. So you see that there's a lot less energy here. And I say energies, energy means sound also. That took away a lot of these frequencies and kind of kept the higher frequencies. So that is not something I wanted. I wanted it to sound more similar, and I think that this one with the PCB sitting on the pour-on foam looks more similar to the red line than this other one. So let's take a look at what happens when I use the aluminum plate. Same setup, just changing out the aluminum for the polycarbonate. So taking a look at those, again, a lot less energy here and a lot less here in the lower mids, mid-range. You can see here it says lower mid, mid-range, upper mid, so that just determines what frequencies we're talking about. Taking a look at both the polycarbonate and the aluminum, they both look pretty similar. I mean, what can we see here? The polycarbonate has a little bit more of this upper mid-range, but less high frequencies. The aluminum has more high frequencies. This is something we hear all the time when people talk about how an aluminum one just kind of brings out those higher frequencies. Sometimes people say, oh, the PC plate is thockier. Okay, that's fine. It has less high frequencies. Sure. Okay. So I like this just because it enables us to take a look at the specific frequencies and exactly what we're talking about. So knowing what we know, let's take a look at the setup here. So here's the PC polycarbonate, and here is that pour-on case foam that it comes with. So that's nice. This is very similar to the case foam in the Mode. Theirs is a little bit thicker, I would say, and smooth on both sides. Anyway, very nice because it has the cutouts for all the sockets. See, if you take a look at how this looks on the board here, there's the cutouts, and it's flat when you look at it from this angle, right? None of these are going to touch here, but I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to still do the tape mod to make sure that none of these make contact with the metal and, you know, create a short. So one of the reasons why I think that we got such a reduction in sound is because with these rubber gaskets, this PCB is no longer making contact with that pour-on foam, which is something that I think improves the sound. You can see the difference there with the PCB sitting on the pour-on versus with it on the gasket. So we'll do a quick experiment, and all we'll do is we're going to take a frequency response measurement with the gaskets on versus with them off. So first with them on, here we go. So this is an RTA, real-time analyzer. It'll show us the frequency response in real time. So you'll see that it takes an average over a span of time. So the longer we do it, the more it kind of settles in. So here we go. Here in green, we have the PC plate with gaskets. Now, it looks a little bit different from our previous measurements because this is in a different space and the mic is a little bit further away. Let's take a look at what happens when we remove the gaskets. What this allows it to do is it allows it to sit lower. Some people might be concerned with this touching, but because this is polycarbonate and not aluminum, this is not making the type of sound that you would think might happen. I'm not too worried about that. But the fact is that since this sits lower, it seems like it's a different sound, but let's see if the measurements confirm that. So I'm gonna press down slightly on the PCB just because the whole idea is that with the case, it will be pushing down on these ends. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. In green, you see the polycarbonate plate with no gaskets, and in blue, you see it with gaskets. So you see that it has more energy here and more bass. Overall, just more sound happening, which is what I want. I can apply psychoacoustic smoothing to give you an idea how we actually hear as humans. And so you just see it has more mid-range. So this is all personal preference. Some people might prefer the way it sounds with just the normal gaskets on here. They might not want to have that extra mid-range that I prefer. So anyway, the whole point of frequency response measurements is not to tell you exactly what you want to hear, but more so to help you build something that sounds like what you want. So let me go ahead and bring in the Mode 80, which is my reference. And let's see how this sounds. Looking at the other two, and this is the Mode 80, you see that this range is starting to look very similar. I am using the same switch here, but a different keycap, so that may show why they sound a little bit different. But the whole goal is to get it sounding more similar than different. The board also came with this aluminum plate, but the reason I'm not going to use this is because the standoffs here are actually taller than the one on the PC plate, which means that there is more of a gap between the bottom of the switch and the PCB. And so that's another thing I think that takes away the sound. They give the option to use this PE foam, so a little piece of foam that goes between the bottom of the switch and the PCB. And the reason I'm using that is because there's a small gap between where the bottom of the feet are on the switch and the actual PCB. This foam helps to bridge that gap so it's actually making some contact. I may try the aluminum plate without the standoffs, so I'd cut them off. I don't know that I want to do that right now because I still want to be able to screw them together, and that would make that impossible. That is the reason I am using the polycarbonate. Also, I'm keeping in the plate foam here just because it keeps it a little bit more even, right? The polycarbonate is very flexible, so I want just kind of an even weight distribution. So, if you press down here without the plate foam, it would kind of it would bend a little bit more, let's just say. So as far as modifications, I'll probably want to lube these. Let's see how they sound without it, but that's one thing I would do. But for sure, I like to do the tape mod. That to me improves the sound by making it a little bit louder, and you just hear more sound coming from the switch itself. So let's do that and see what happens first. So I'm going to put this together the way that they would recommend me do it, with all of the foam and the gaskets, and then we'll start modding. For switches, I'm going to be using these KBD DIY Fantasy Poison switches. I think they may have called them virus switches before. I don't know. Weird name, but I've measured these and they actually sound pretty similar in tonality to the Boba U4Ts. So I'm going to go with these. I kind of like the way they feel. So let's see how these go. So now that I have these switches in, they're going to sound a little bit different. So if I were to be completely scientific about this, I should have just tested one by itself, because adding all these other ones here could affect the sound. I'm not sure, but we're just having fun here. So let's go ahead and measure one and see how the sound has changed. All right, so very interesting. You see that there's actually a dip here where there used to be a peak, and that's why you can't predict what's going to happen with just a frequency response measurement. Just because you don't know how stuff will interact. In order to do that, you'd need something called an impulse response, where you actually had the phase information, and then you could start predicting stuff. So you'd need impulse responses for the various components, and then you could see where some would add up, and sometimes they actually cancel and subtract. And so it's very complicated to do with just what we're doing right now. It is possible, but not something I really want to do, just because all we want to know is the end result. Okay, so taking a look, the two, they're the same color, so it's a little bit hard to see, but you see here is where I'm seeing a dip, right, with these green Fantasy Poison switches. What else do we see? A little bit more mid-range, and let's see. Yeah, some more of the higher frequencies. More mid-range here. So the fact that it doesn't have this peak here, where the Mode 80 definitely does. Yeah. So let's take a look. Let's see what happens if we just switch out one for the U4T. So the whole idea here is for you to learn with me to see what changes make a difference and how. Here we go. So U4T back in that spot, but with all the other things in place. Let's take a look at the two. As you can tell, they are very similar in tonality. This one, the U4T, doesn't have this deep dip, but if I were to show you the psychoacoustic smoothing, you would see that you wouldn't hear that much anyway. So this is what we actually hear versus what this mic can measure. So what we see is the U4T has actually less of these higher frequencies, so above 5 kilohertz. The Fantasy Poison switches have more treble. But everywhere else, it looks like it kind of follows similar trends. The U4T does have more mid-range, and the U4T was also transferring a little bit more of the bass frequencies. Might have been just because I was pressing harder. I don't trust the bass frequencies as much just because the desk makes a big difference. All right, so I'm going to switch back. I'm going to use all of these. Now it's time to install the keycaps, and it's going to be the opposite of the color scheme that I have here for my mode, so that'll be interesting. All right, so I have it all put together, screwed together, and so yeah, I think it looks pretty awesome. Yeah, I'm liking the way it looks. Actually, I just noticed this space gray matches my space gray MacBook Pro. That's cool. So what I want to do now is I want to do a binaural sound demo, in which case I would highly recommend that you use headphones, the best headphones that you have, because it will give you an idea of how it sounds spatially. So when you hear something on the right, it should sound like it's on the right, left, so forth. So the mics that I'm using are some Sonic Presence microphones. Now those mics are good out of the box. I'll leave a link to them down below. Make sure to let them know that I sent you. Out of the box, they have a little bit of a presence boost, and so that may affect the way that it sounds. What I've done is I've used my calibrated mic to calibrate these individual microphones so that what you're going to hear is an accurate representation as long as your headphones are also accurate. I recommend the AKG K371s just because out of the box, those are also accurate and they're around 100, 110 bucks, not too expensive. So first we're going to hear it stock, and I will say that I've listened to it and I'm pretty impressed. It doesn't sound like my mode, which is the goal for this particular project, but I can't say that it isn't pleasing. It's kind of fun. I like it. So for some people, they might like it just like this. For me, I want to see if I can get it to sound more similar to the mode, and right now you'll see that it doesn't quite sound the same. Let's take a quick listen to the Mode 80 as reference. Here we have the Mod007 polycarbonate plate, gasket mount, in the normal configuration. So right off the bat, it sounded like the Akko Mod007 was quieter than the Mode 80. Let's take some measurements and see how the main keys sound. So first, the Mode 80. Take a measurement of the Akko Mod007v2. Looking at these two, the Mode 80 in purple and the Mod007 in red, what I'm seeing is up here in the upper mid-range and treble region, they're starting to look pretty similar, which I'm happy with. Also, let's take a look at the bass. The red being the Akko, you see that there's more bass transfer, so there's more of the sound being transferred to the desk, and it's probably because this is a smaller keyboard, but also the aluminum is not as dense from what I can see. It's a little bit, it's just not as heavy. So less of the frequencies are contained within the aluminum board and more is transferred. So you see that here in the bass region. A mat would kind of just eliminate that anyway. The most noticeable thing is the mid-range. So the lower mid-range and the mid-range on the mode is much higher. And I think that what we saw earlier about the gasket and having it sitting directly on the pour-on foam, I think we'll really get that to match up pretty well. So I'm going to take this apart and let's start modding. All right, so first things first, notice here on the bottom base, this actually feels pretty nice. So they did a great job with this. I like that it's flat, gives you more options to do various things. But here where I think it's kind of weird is they made a cutout here. I don't know if it's to save material, but this area here is cut out here, but not here. And take a listen to the sound. See if you can hear this difference once I run across the piece that's in the middle. Listen to this. See that? So the tonality changes when we get here, which makes sense. But it doesn't sound like that anywhere else because it's solid everywhere else. Only that piece. So I'm kind of wondering what would happen if I just fill this. I have some extra plastiline clay, and you know, if I just throw some in there, why not? I don't know what that would be for. It doesn't look like it's for cooling or anything. So I'm just guessing it is for saving. So the less metal you have to use, maybe the more you save, I guess. I don't know. I'm just guessing here. So let's fill that up. This is probably a horrible idea with regards to mess. So I don't know if I really want to do this. Do I want to do this? I don't think I want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't think it's worth it. Yeah, I'm gonna skip that. I just don't think it's worth that headache of if it doesn't come out, I'm gonna have to scoop that. No, I'm not gonna do it. Okay, so let's start off with some basic mods. So yeah, you could fill that with clay or silicone or something else if you wanted to. I don't know that it'd make a huge difference. I don't know that it'd be worth it, but here is one that is worth it. I made a video about what happens when you use a tape mod. That definitely makes a big difference. I'm not sure exactly the mechanism for why that works, but I think it has to do with maybe spreading out the resonant frequency. So whenever you hit the switch, it resonates, and normally it resonates in one spot, but I think the tape kind of distributes that along the entire PCB evenly. So I don't know that it's so much reflecting the sound back and forward, maybe, but anyway, the whole point is that it definitely makes a difference. So I also like that because it's going to add a little bit more thickness to the PCB, which means that it'll make more contact here, that's what we want. So for this particular build, I want the bottom of the PCB to make more contact with this pour-on foam, which is making contact with this nice aluminum CNC base. And so if this was plastic, I wouldn't want to do that. I'd want to decouple. I'd want less of the sound from here. But because this is a nice solid piece, yeah, I want to couple with that. So let's do a quick tape mod. I prefer to use gaffer's tape because it's sticky, but it comes off. So I'll link to the stuff I use here. What I found is it actually makes a slight difference if you kind of apply this tight, right? So I'm just gonna hold this here and make the tape tight. I feel like I've measured it previously and it makes it have slightly a higher, cleaner pitch. I think it's also adding to the rigidity of the board, just the fact that there's something behind it. So all you need is 3 pieces. I like to actually do this. Oh, okay. I actually like to press down, make it even. Gaffer's tape is awesome. All right. So I need to make sure to make a little cutout for this guy here. I see you. I cut myself on this little piece here. So yeah, be careful. I like this color because it glows in the dark too. Got a little cutout here. So already, just the tape mod, I'm not even placing it in here, but you can hear the difference. Some people call that poppy. All right, that's fine. I think it's just louder. But yeah, it may accentuate certain frequencies more than others, but in any case, it does the job. So putting it back in here without changing anything else, just the tape mod. Okay, I'm not going to go ahead and screw this back in. I'm just not. So it should be close enough. All right, so look at that. Just that right there takes it and gets it much closer to the mode 80 in tonality. So quickly, just a comparison without the tape mod. Remember, we were missing a lot of this mid-range, and just by doing the tape mod, we're getting a lot of that mid-range back. So you could actually just stop right there. I mean, that's already close enough. But you know what? I want to do one more thing. Yeah, that already sounds awesome. But I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to do one more thing here. And what that is I still don't like that this is not directly on this. It may be just because it's added some thickness. So it's possible that it is sitting on there. Let me see. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see if it sounds different. We have that measurement. I'm going to take off the gasket and see if that makes it sound a little bit different. And if it does, that probably means that the gaskets are lifting it off of this pour-on foam. So the goal is to have the PCB sitting directly on that pour-on foam. So here we go. All right, so no gaskets to kind of hold it up. All right. Okay, so what do we see here? Let's see. No gaskets versus gasket. The one with a gasket. Let's see. No gasket seems to have a little bit more of the bass coming through, transferring to the desk, which is not desirable. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Just the tape mod. I mean, yeah. I think that's pretty much it. I was thinking that what I would want to do is actually set it up like this, and I had tried it out with using the pour-on foam just here, right, which would push down just on that. I'm still going to probably do that, but I don't know that it's any better. Yeah. I think this is already making contact with the gaskets on. All right. So now it's all put together. Tape mod. That's pretty much it. And that's what's a great thing about all these measurements. I was going to do all this other stuff, but after looking at the measurements, it's close enough to the point where I feel like I'm comfortable not doing the other stuff that I was planning on doing. So it's going to save me time. And hopefully, if you like the build, you like the way it sounds, it'll save you time as well. So that's awesome. And Akko's doing it right. All right. So here's my Mode 80 first edition. All right. So quick, just a same keycaps. This is the Boba U4T, $650 for the first edition that I have here. Just the board, no keycaps. And these are the same keycaps on the Akko Mod007. I think this is what, $160, something like that. Amazing, amazing. Higher pitch, on this. That's close. That. So let's do a final measurement of this now that it's all put together and see how it looks. Right, so there it is, the final build. So now we're going to do the binaural sound demo of the Mod 007, fully modded, final build. So here we go. So yeah, this thing sounds pretty awesome. Akko, you guys are crazy. Somebody's doing something right over there. This is a crazy value, especially with a few very basic modifications. And you know, this is not expensive stuff. The switches I'll link to, the keycaps, inexpensive as well, relative to some of the other stuff that I've seen. And it sounds and looks great. Wow, I am very happy about this. And I'm excited to see the 007S, the south facing versions. I don't have any issue with these, but anyway, they're sending that, so I'll get to check it out. I also have this that I'm building with my sister, who is now into keyboards, I guess, after I showed her a few. So here we go, check this out. She does a lot of stuff with numbers, so she got the 004 in that pink color. Very nice. All right. So we'll have to go and build that in a bit. All right, so that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, found it useful, learned something with me, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I upload new videos. That's it. Take care. Bye-bye.